Kia ora everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Keith, I'm 52, I live in a beautiful country called New Zealand and I've been a carnivore for 1 year now. I'd like to find out how everybody is doing on their carnivore journey or on whatever journey you're on at the moment. If you want to put it down in the comments, I'll be sure to answer them. And just to let you know, I'm not a health professional, I'm not a nutritionist, and I'm definitely not a doctor. So all my information that I'm sharing at the moment is just my own experiences, and I'm hoping that some way, by me sharing these experiences, they may help with something you might have a question about with carnivore, what it's like being on carnivore. My journey to carnivore, part 2. So I'll just recap on my part 1. Basically started back in 2021, Christmas and New Year's. And now it brought me towards keto, which I started in May of 2022. And I did that for 10 months. And then along the way I realized that the sugar and carbs were still part of my daily diet, and I could feel my old ways starting to slip back in again. I soon realized that I needed something else, something that was different to what I was doing. And that's how I came across Carnivore, which of course was the first video that I saw was Dr. Ken Berry. So I looked into that, and he kept it real basic for me. Just eat beef, butter, bacon and eggs. So then I decided to start on the 29th of March 2023 with Carnivore. And I thought to myself, well, it can't be that bad if there's only 4 ingredients that I should grab when I go shopping. And I wasn't wrong, because if I look back on how much different foods I used to have in my cupboards, it varied from time to time. If I go back even further from when I used to eat really bad, I would have chippies, potato chippies, I would have French fries. Actually, there was points in my journey that I was only buying French fries and a tray or 2 of eggs, and that's what I survived on. Everything else was what I call unhealthy, very high carbon, very high sugar types of foods. So if you go into a supermarket, you will see that everything that's at cheapest, everything that is cheap, is normally either high in carbs or high in sugar. And they're forever saying this has got low fat, this has got less sugar in it. But if you look at the labels real carefully, and I used to do that sometimes, there were different names for sugars, and the sugars in there were anything that ends with OSE. So I used to grab everything that was cheap, everything, and I'd expect it to last me a week or 7 days till my next shopping day. That never used to happen. That would end up being 5 days, because I would have this appetite for all those foods and I couldn't stop eating them. And after 5 days, I'd be looking on the 6th and 7th day to ring my family to see if they'd have any spare food, to see what they were getting, like maybe takeaways or things like that. And 9 times out of 10, they would bring me some over, or they would bring me takeaways, and that was just to help me to get through to the next week. I started at my local supermarket or my local grocery store or something like that. Something that was selling things at a reasonable price. And the first things I went looking for was the ground beef or mince. I would grab packets of that. When I first started, I'd grab a couple of packets of that, and then I looked for the bacon, and I didn't really care what was in the bacon at the time. I went looking for the cheapest affordable pack of or large pack of bacon, maybe one or two packs. And then I would go and buy trays of eggs. So I bought those, and then I went for the butter. Now, butter for me, I like butter anyway. I used to be that person that would chuck a whole bunch of butter onto a bread, and everybody would go, "Where's the bread gone?" And so I just bought these four ingredients. I just brought a lot of them, or what I could afford at the time, and thought, right, I hope this lasts because you don't really know. And then I thought, if I can just do this carnivore way of eating for 7 days, right to my next shopping, then I would have done all right. I'd done really good if I could do it for 7 days. Because even at that time, I was very doubtful of just eating these four ingredients would do for me. My first meal was beef burgers or burger patties, a few slices of bacon, all pan fried, and I think I had about 3 eggs. That was my first meal. I had my butter cut up. So I'd cut it into cubes. I'd cut about 100 grams off and cut it into cold cubes. And I would have that in a small bread plate next to me, and then I just started eating. I just started eating the food that I had in front of me. And the first thing I remember doing was cutting up my beef burger and then dipping that beef burger into my soft fried eggs. And then I decided to grab cold cube butter. That first taste and that first flavor and everything that I was getting from just those few things excited me straight away. I was just like, wow, I've really been missing something here. So I carried on eating with it, and I ate it all. I ate the whole lot, including the bacon. The bacon just added a bit more flavour to everything that I was eating. And after that meal, my body was satisfied for the first time. And I don't know how to explain how this came about because I'm not sure myself, but it was really satisfied after that meal. And I thought, wow, I'd already pre-cooked beef burger patties, and all I had to do was cook my bacon and my eggs. Now, one of the other things that I decided to get while I was out shopping was beef brisket. So beef brisket over here is very fatty, and it's also very cheap. And so I grabbed a couple of packets of that, and then I decided to slow roast them. And so slow roasting them, I pan seared them first, or I pan fried them first to give them a bit of colour. I stuck them in my oven, and then I decided, right, I'll just slow cook them. So I cooked them on a low heat. So having these foods already pre-prepared, it gave me no excuse not to try and eat this way. And I think that's one of the things on Carnivore that you learn. If you prep your food beforehand, and that may be at a time when you're not your busiest, and it could be on any day. any day that you decide it's the best time for you to take an hour or two out of your time and start prepping your meats. Because once you've prepped them, you can put them away into containers and stick them into the fridge. And those will be ready for you every day. When I looked at it, and because these are one of the things that people will say to you, oh, doesn't that cost a lot of money? I'm like, no, it doesn't. Because firstly, the food that you're eating is satisfying your hunger. So after a while, your satiation point reaches that pretty quickly. And so you end up being very happy with the food that you've ate. Whereas when it comes to foods that are high in carbs and high in sugars, there's this insatiable appetite to have that food an hour later, or maybe 2 hours later. And then before you know it, all this food that you thought you had, like for me, was gone, supposedly supposed to last 7 days, was gone in 5 days. I felt better when I was eating. I slept better. And then with my mental health, I'd wake up happier. You know, these are things that you can't buy in a bottle or in a medication. And if you do, then there's something that's not quite right if you have to do like I used to do and take medications to level me up. And I thought to myself, when my 7 days are up, I'll congratulate myself. And if I feel like I want to buy other things, then I may do that. I'm walking into the supermarket or one of the local butcheries that we have here. Here I was looking forward to just buying beef, butter, bacon and eggs. And I thought to myself, what's happening here? What is actually happening? So I went in and I brought pretty much the same stuff. And this time I didn't buy as much because I still had leftovers. And this is the amazing thing about Carnivore. Because I hadn't eaten as much as I thought I would eat, because my body was satisfied every time I had a meal, I didn't have to buy as many things. I didn't have to buy, it was like one packet, right? One packet of everything instead of 2 or 3 packets just to think, oh, I'm going to eat all of this. So my cost went down after the first week of eating this way. And that's really important to note, because it is one of the most dominant things I've heard when I say to someone that I'm a carnivore or all I do is eat meat. It's one of the things that they will always say to me, isn't that dear? How can you afford that? The thing is, there is meat out there and products out there that are much cheaper than you think. And then when you go to eat them, they satisfy your body, and therefore you're not hungry throughout the day. You're not eating 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day. You're just eating when you're hungry. Because once you've eaten these nutritious foods, is what I call them, you're satisfied. Your body's satisfied, your mind is satisfied, and you're just happier eating these foods. So I hope these videos have been helpful for you. I hope that by me sharing, you're able to just get a feel for how my journey's been so far. Just to let you all know, the original video that I sat down and talked in was about an hour long, and I didn't really want videos to be that long on my channel, so I'm editing them down to about 15, maybe 20 minutes or less. And so I just think that's a lot easier to, time wise, to be able to view. So until I see you again, stay safe, stay blessed, and stay carnivore. Aroha nui whānau.